Okay, so for a moment, I want you to ask yourself the question, who taught you American history? Just think about that for a second. You probably had a teacher that taught it to you, right? Think about them, think about the classroom. Okay, good. Who taught you about literature? Think about that for a second, like how to write, form a story, create a narrative. Think about that for a second. Remember that place, the classroom? Maybe it was a family member. Think about it. Okay. Now, who taught you who you are? Who taught you about your history, where you come from? Was it your mom, your dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, sibling, somebody not affiliated with your family? Think about that. Who told you who you were? Now take all of that and throw it out. And then think about it. Who are you now? Without all of that, without all of that legacy and your own individual history, who are you now without all of that? And for me, this is where the place that you're sitting in right now is the place that I was sitting in about a year ago. And I did this therapy that basically took everything, threw it out the window. Had to get rid of everything. And it's tough. It's really tough because you want to hold on to the meaning of everything and, but I built this up to be this thing. It has to be this thing, right? And it's not. And what you find is you have the ability to take your own agency. You have the ability to discover your own narrative. You have the ability to write your own narrative, to write how this is going to work out for you. You have the ability to identify yourself. And you don't have to have it based on anything that you've heard in the past or what you've been told in the past. And as a black person in America, the amount of being told who I am, being told who I was, being told who I will be, happens on an overt level and a very insidious covert level, to the point that hegemony, which for folks that don't know, hegemony is where I don't want you to talk. So instead of me putting my hand over your mouth, I take your hand and put it over your mouth and hold it there for so long that you just figure that's the way things are. So I take my hand away so I don't got to do the work, and now you're censoring yourself. This is the way that I believe that public media was supposed to be. This is the way that I believe that me navigating code switching was supposed to be. And it's not. It's not at all. I don't have to subscribe to speaking a certain way around white folks. I don't have to subscribe to speaking a certain way around anybody. As long as I'm speaking with love and compassion, that's all it's got to be for me, on my end. It may be different for you, but for me, the way that everything has worked out over the past year has been that. And it's been discovering what those possibilities are moving forward. And so for me, what's been happening, I guess this is a little video of catch-up, is in shedding, in like disappearing all of that meaning and history and baggage that I applied to myself, that the way things had to be, the way things were gonna work out, the way who I identified as, getting rid of all that allowed me to then engage with the possibilities that I could have never engaged with before. So this idea of, well, I'm gonna start a public media company. I would have never thought that a year ago, ever. I would have thought that the only way was waiting about 6 to 8 months for my former employers to say, yep, got the show, go ahead, green light. And then filming and then waiting another several months for it to come out. And it's not to say that the time was the holdup. It's also to say that the white filter, the white objectivity, the normalcy of how to do things, it diluted everything that I was. It stripped all the color away from me, literally, figuratively, poetically, however you want to put it. It just took that away from me. And I just felt like a shell that didn't have much to offer. So when you talk about being authentic, when you talk about stepping forward in your own authentic self, the elimination of that baggage was the first step that had to happen for me to be authentic and go forward. And so in doing that, it feels like a risk. It feels like you're risking your entire identity. And then looking back at it now, you know, it was a win-win to shed all of that and try to move forward and figure out, okay, how do we want this to be going forward? This doesn't need to be the way that it's been day in, day out. You don't need to be who they said you were going to be in middle school. You don't need to be, you know, the way that they phrased you as a student growing up. And for me, you know, I'd get in trouble often. Me and my friends, we'd be caught in hallways without hall passes and mouthing off to teachers and, you know, capping back and forth and whatnot. And there would always be these moments. I'd sit in the principal's office and I would look out that damn window that had these old school doors with windows on them, and like all of them were like blurred out, like except for like one, and it had like wires on it. And I would look out that window and I would just see, you know, all the other kids running by and like, you know, acting a fool, doing the same thing I was doing, and I'd be like, damn, what did I do? You know, what's wrong with me to really be? Something must be wrong with me to be in this principal's office. And come to think of it, there really wasn't anything wrong, nothing wrong at all. It just was the way the school was set up, the way the cards were stacked, and the way that it was dealing with me. And moving forward, I let that story replay in my life so many times that I believed that it was true, that I was destined to be in that principal's office. And so once I said, no, that's not me, and it has more to do with the school than it does with me, then I, you know, was able to start taking some more agency and being in my authentic self, as opposed to being in this, you know, railroaded, you know, sitting on the tracks and you only got one way to go. So I encourage everybody to kind of ask yourself those questions: who told you who you are, who you're going to be, and who you were, and then kind of establish, you know, on your terms, who you want to be going forward, and what that looks like with compassion, dignity, and equity in your community. And we'll get into that more later on, being of value to your community. But in this case, this was kind of being of value to myself. It's kind of what the spiel is, and kind of getting into being my authentic self. And that's a daily verb. That's an hourly verb. That's not just something like, well, I'm authentic now, so it's all figured out. Like, no, that's not how it works. So it's something that's done on the daily, the hourly, all the time. But yeah, I hope this video was of some value to you, and I'll continue talking about this in regards to being authentic, law of attraction, being of value to community down the line. But this is definitely something I wanted to speak on in this video. And if you've had something of a similar path, feel free to write it in the comments. So yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.